and welcome to Valley Homes on TV. I'm Debbie Giordano, your host, along with Todd Flesner, host today. Yep.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Happy summer.
Right.
So you're watching our show on Channel 26, where you can see us on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6:30 p.m. and Saturday, Sunday at 9. And I think they even put the spots in a few more times during the week also. So we have a special guest today. Todd, would you like to introduce her?
I'd be delighted to introduce a friend of mine, Allison Yu. Allison is a specialist in immigration. She's an immigration attorney. So she helps folks and companies with the issues impacting folks who are coming here to the United States. And so, I know that here in Milpitas we have folks from around the world. And
50% of our residents are born out of this area. So yeah.
Right. So immigration is an issue that some have some experience with, may have some questions about. So I thought Allison would be a great guest to have on. So welcome, Allison.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you very much. So tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, and were you educated, and
Sure.
what brought you to where you're at today.
Okay, sure. Be happy to. So I'm an immigrant myself. I was born in Hong Kong, and I came here in the 70s. We grew up in LA, Southern California, all through public schools. And I went to UC San Diego, graduated with a psychology degree. And after I graduated in the 80s, I had to think about the next step. What am I going to do? And I've always been interested in helping folks, helping people solve problems. Being a teacher was one avenue, but I had to take more classes, and I did not want to go back to school after being in school for 4 years. So my mom got me a job to work with her lawyer in Monterey Park. So I was his assistant, legal secretary, office person.
Great.
He was a solo, and it made me think that, I can do this work. So that was in the 80s, and then I came up to San Francisco to go to law school. And
Excellent.
I've been doing this since the 90s.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. So you got your law degree from
USF, University of San Francisco.
Okay.
Right. So I've always wanted to focus on helping people, and in law school I was in this children in the law program through my law school, and I actually some of the San Francisco public schools allowed our law students to go in there during their social studies period or their history period and teach law for a 10-week period. So I did that.
Great.
Good. Is there something that really attracted you to the area of immigration law that piqued your interest in that area?
Well, to tell you the truth, so I kind of floundered. I didn't flounder. I was in litigation for 20 years. It was just a natural progression of things. People think that once you become a lawyer, you go to court, you're going to be a litigator, and I just kind of fell into that. So I did that for about 18 to 20 years. Even while I was with the law firm, I dabbled in immigration. There was always an interest, whether it is to help an individual or to help a company, an employer, think about how to hire the next talented employee that they have their eyes on. Some of them are, PhD grads with great credentials, and these big companies want to snatch them up, but because they're not authorized to work in the U.S., we have to think about options for them. So I would counsel these employer clients in my firm, even though that was not my niche. I was still doing litigation. So that's how I got started.
Well, we ask all of our guests. So you were raised in Southern California and came up here to the Bay Area. What do you like most about living in the Bay Area?
Well, definitely the diversity. And, I take the diversity here for granted because, I grew up, I've pretty much been in the Bay Area for about 20 years. And I take it for granted that I can just, the variety of services that we have access to, the Chinese food or the Mexican food or the different variety of services that we have access to, we just don't get in other states. And I don't know that until I actually travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Well, let's talk a little bit more about your work in the immigration field.
Sure.
What are some of the reasons that someone might choose to work with an immigration attorney such as yourself?
If they recognize that this is not their own area of expertise, and they need someone on board to be an advocate on their side who knows the immigration laws, then they will come to someone like me. Sometimes either for privacy issues or maybe financial issues, the potential immigrant or the person with the interest in the immigration issue doesn't want to reach out to a lawyer, because they think they can do it themselves. There's definitely a lot of information on the internet, and they may get through some parts on their own, but almost always they're going to need an attorney who knows that area of the immigration issue to be on their side.
So the immigration law, that's a federal law.
Immigration is all federal.
All federal.
All federal, correct.
Yeah, that's what you said. So who would be your target groups then? Who would come to you?
Well, since I have a general immigration practice, meaning I service both the individual-based, like the consumer-based, family-based, and also the employment-based visas, then these are generally the big categories of my target clients. I love to work with the companies themselves, like their HR person or the office manager, because I can have more flexibility with helping them identify, the job that might be appropriate for certain types of visas that our government has made available.
Okay.
It's harder when I have the actual individual because, I don't have that much flexibility in what we can do. The petitions are always on behalf of the companies. You were talking about employment-based.
Okay.
It seems like the individual is the one who has the
Right.
interest, so it's their visas, but it's not.
Right.
If they're here on a work visa, it's the company's
Companies.
petition, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
most of the information comes from the company.
Okay. Interesting.
Well, good. Well, let's drill down a little bit more then in terms of, what are some of the issues really that you help your clients solve?
So one of the comments one of my colleagues said to me was, because I had a difficult issue, I can't remember what it is exactly, and I talked to my colleague about that, and I wanted to take the case because it was wrought with legal issues that I want to delve into, and
That's your litigation side.
and if I can get through it, then the client gets the benefit. So I called up my friend who was more seasoned, more experienced than me, and she said that she goes, "You have a lot of energy, don't you? You have energy for this?" And I do. I mean, these things get me excited. So I love the challenges. I love it when a client comes to me and they get a notice. So let me back up a little bit on the process. So you have 3 ways that you can, there's 3 different large areas of immigration. You've got the benefit where the person is seeking for like the visa or the status here in the U.S., and that's overseen by the Department of Homeland Security. Then you have those who are trying to come here on a visa. They're already abroad, they're not here, and they want a visa to come to the U.S. The visa is issued out of the Department of State. So that's another agency. And then you have those who are unlawfully present and they get caught and they get hauled into court, and that is in the removal proceeding, or we call deportation. So there's 3 aspects. So I deal with more often the first area where they're here in the U.S. and they want to change their status. I lost track of your original question.
Which is any special issues or what type of? And I think you answered that.
Right. So then when they
No.
seek the benefit, the adjudicating officer can either grant it or they can say, well, more evidence. Or sometimes they'll say, this is a notice of intent to deny, and they'll give a reason.
Well, I can certainly see where they're going to need an attorney for
I
that.
like to get those cases
Yeah.
because so far I'm able to find out errors in that potential denial decision. And that's when you can, still save. This is like the last minute. I can still save the case when I spot that issue.
So Todd was being more specific. I'll even be more specific.
Okay.
We have a high-tech area here.
Mhm.
So what type of specialties and what are some needs of the tech industry? And how do you interplay with that sector?
Well, I think the bigger picture is we need more visas. What I like to think that our immigration law serves is we help, from the employment perspective, we help employers stay competitive. I mean, America is one of the greatest countries. We have the greatest, inventions. We're in the education system. We're in the Silicon Valley. I had a friend come over visit from Hong Kong, and all they wanted me to do was take them around the Silicon Valley to look at the buildings. with the logo Yahoo or Apple or Google. We take these buildings around our freeways for granted, but this is where it's happening. And these companies, in order to stay competitive, need to be able to hire talents from all over the world, not just America. And I just don't think there's enough visas that these potential candidates can tap into.
Okay. So we talked a little bit about folks kind of doing it themselves, and that there's a lot of information out there. What if someone started that process themselves and they get, into a situation where they perhaps are stuck or they're going down the side road? Is it too late to bring someone like yourself on board?
No, it's not. It's never too late unless they're issued that deportation order. Then it's a little harder to do. Sometimes even an attorney can come in and maybe appeal that. But generally, if they're processing a change of status in the U.S. or an adjustment of status in the U.S., if they haven't gotten the adjudication yet, they can always seek an attorney for consultation. I would recommend that even if you're not ready to hire an attorney to do the whole case for you, at least pay for a consultation and get certain particular issues dealt with up front.
Okay.
It's easier. I mean, some of these forms have instructions, and a lot of the consumers think that, well, I can read the instructions, I'll just include these evidence because it's listed here. Well, what you don't know is, from experience, what issues you can nip in the bud early on. And they're not going to give you all that information on the instruction sheet.
Right.
Allison, it sounds to me like a difference maker between different law firms dealing with immigration might be knowledge, and might be, obviously you've got a lot of energy and a lot of assertiveness, but how are immigration law firms different? How do they differ?
They could be different in the kind of clients they focus on. So there are firms who only do business-based petitions, business visas, and there are firms who only do family visas, and there are firms who only do deportation defenses.
Okay.
I'm a solo. I have one contract lawyer and an assistant to kind of keep me organized. We touch on a little of all of these areas. By far, I have many more business-based cases because being in this area and because of my experience. And then almost always you're going to get the family-based cases. Someone's going to get married and they want to bring their foreign spouse over, or the foreign spouse already here on a student visa and they want to convert that into a green card. And then you have the larger firms, the larger firms who represent the bigger Silicon Valley companies. They're going to know the companies more intimately, so they can churn out the cases and they have a more streamlined process. You might get firms who maybe only rely on paralegal, and the attorney only gets, the potential client only gets a brief FaceTime with the attorney, and then most of the work is done by a paralegal. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of these paralegals are very experienced. I like to give my clients more FaceTime. I think it makes them have a higher level of comfort and assurance that their case will be looked after properly.
Oh, good. So, let's say someone is considering engaging someone like yourself and has an immigration need. What are some important questions that they might ask?
They should definitely ask if the lawyer is a licensed attorney, and if they're licensed in any state, they may practice immigration only in, let me back up a little bit. Because immigration is a federal jurisdiction, normally an attorney who is practicing in California should be licensed in California. If they're not licensed in California but in another state and they want to practice in California, they may only practice immigration. So if there's a family law issue, they cannot do that. If there's a contract issue, they cannot do that because they're not licensed in California. So it's important to at least have your attorney licensed somewhere in one of our 50 states. And you'll be surprised how many don't go to an attorney. There are some smaller community agencies, and they attract the immigrants, and they'll use their own language to say, we are a legal service, or we are an immigration service. Notice that doesn't say they're lawyers, and sometimes the immigrant may not know better. So that's very important.
Okay, good.
So it sounds to me like you like your job.
I love my job.
I bet you do. So what are some of the rewards other than helping people?
Well, I think helping people was a big reward of mine. I feel I've been in litigation for so long, and I work in a corporate setting, and my clients were basically insurance companies, so I never see them. And I've been asked before if I like being a lawyer, and it paid the bill. It paid the bills, and that's all I could really say. And I really never understood. Wow, I've been doing this for 20 years. What next? And then when I took this next step and became my own, became a solo practitioner and choosing immigration, I really have the great satisfaction of being able to sit with a client, hear their stories, assure them, come up with creative strategies. If they can't qualify for a benefit today, but maybe in a year's time, if they do A, B, and C, they may be able to qualify. Like, for example, today I had a client. She had a 2-year home residency requirement on her visa as a result of the program that she was in previously, which means you come for this program, you got to go back to your country for 2 years. That particular program, it's because you want to benefit your country by coming to be involved in this program. Well, she was 90 days short.
Oh, wow.
And she came, and she wanted to marry, and she wanted to stay in the U.S. and marry her U.S. citizen husband. I'm sorry, she was already married, so she wanted to stay here, but she's 90 days short. So what do we do? I said, well, there's different things. You can ask for a waiver. It's a long road toward that, or just go home for 90 days. But there's other issues related to that. So I like the exchange. I like thinking things out with
Problem
the client. Problem solving, and even strategic planning.
Well, great. Well, with the energy that you put into it, I'm sure that your clients get great service. What about the future? What are some of the aspirations or goals you might have?
Well, I want to get my act together. So I've been in practice for only 3 years. I have a little office, and I'm ready to move into a bigger office in July. And once I'm in that office, I really want to streamline my process. I want to be able to get out and bring more business, and have because we're so close to Santa Clara University, and they have a great immigration clinic. And I want to be able to use my office as a place where those who aspire to be immigration lawyers come and learn the trade with me. They can. So if they're from Santa Clara Law School, there's already an immigration clinic there, so I'm sure they can definitely use the help. But then what next after that? So I love to be a place where I can train good immigration law attorneys and service our community that way.
Well, I'm sure you'd be a great teacher.
You'd be a good teacher.
So,
Well, Allison, it's been a joy interviewing you today.
Thank
you
you.
so much for taking the time.
Thank you for
out of
having
your
me.
busy schedule. And
Absolutely. We've enjoyed having you. If folks have questions, how might they be able to get in contact with you?
yeah, sure. So I have a website. It's yewlegal.com, YEWLEGAL.com. And on my website, there's contact forms on like every single tab. I encourage people to write me and tell me their stories. And if it's something that I can, answer quickly via email, I do that. If I think that it's more appropriate for a consultation and I need you to come in because of, maybe more details that I need, then I'll tell you that. But there's a contact form on the first page, and there's like an evaluation tab. Just click your way around, and it goes directly to me, and I answer all my emails.
Excellent.
Terrific. Well, I'm sure you're a great resource for folks. You've been a great resource for us today in answering questions. And
Interesting topic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, I learned a lot. So
Yeah.
thanks for being here.
Good. Thank you for having me.
Good luck with your business.
Thank you.
The following is a public service announcement test to determine if you need a fishing license and boat registration before you head out on the water. Let us begin. Are you a pelican? Does this look like your house? Is this your idea of fishing with friends? Do you use your feet as fishing hooks? Are you your own boat? Do you have webbed feet? No, I mean like a... That's the one. Do you want this in your favorite lake? Yuck, yike. No thanks, mister. Regardless how you answered, you need to be licensed and registered because it helps local conservation efforts protect the very natural resources you enjoy boating and fishing in for generations to come. Do your part at takemefishing.org.
The United States Air Force has a proud history of leading our nation in embracing diversity. We've been reaching new heights for years by understanding it's our individual experiences which make us strong. You can share in this success by seeking opportunities to learn and grow as a member of a diverse team. We are the world's greatest Air Force, not because of what we do, but who we are. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Valley Homes on TV. This is a 10-minute wrap-up that we do for the month of, we're in the month of June, so we're going to look at some statistics, Todd, for May.
Terrific.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the lending background. That's your expertise, being a lender, and what are some of the new disclosure requirements now? What buyers, what they need to know? I pulled this RESPA, how about the HUD settlement
Sure.
statement? And
Yeah, there's a new set of disclosures now that come with all the loans that are being done. It combines several forms that there used to be for loan disclosures into one. It's known as TRID, or is kind of the acronym within the industry.
Okay.
But the common name that HUD has given Housing and Urban Development is Know Before You Owe. And so it really has done, I think, a service to consumers in helping to make the disclosures and the information about the loan that you're getting much easier to understand. It's much clearer.
And it would make sense, I mean, I would understand that it would show how much interest they're going to pay over the life of the
Correct.
20-year loan,
Correct.
30-year loan. I guess those figures can be pretty astounding when you look at it.
Well, yeah, it's a good tool to help you compare different loan options that you might have. But, one of the challenges oftentimes for folks when they, in the old days of disclosure, was knowing exactly what was it going to take in terms of cash to be able to close that transaction. So this helps to make that a little bit clearer for folks to understand exactly what the costs are for getting that particular loan.
Okay, good. And is that done at the onset of the loan when the purchase contract?
Yes, there are 2 points. Up front, you get what's known these days as an LE, all right, a loan estimate.
Okay.
And so when the loan starts, you'll be given an initial loan estimate. And there are many tight tolerances on that, and that fees cannot increase over what is on that loan estimate. And then at the very end, you're required to have what's known now as a CD, or a closing disclosure. And that must be provided to you a minimum of 3 days prior to your signing the loan documents. Used to be that we would get the closing statements, sometimes a half an hour before we were supposed to close, and that was, a lot of stress and pressure for people. They were feeling like they were walking in blind to a closing. So this helps to be helps borrowers to understand exactly what needs to be there in terms
And I
of that
think maybe that with the
closing.
whole shakedown of the lending industry over the past, 6-7 years, it's probably been a good thing to have that come.
Well, I think, many of the regulations, the changes have been beneficial to consumers, absolutely. It makes it a little bit more difficult on the lender's end in terms of what we have to do regulatory-wise to be compliant, but, I think it's a much better process now for consumers.
Okay, so I want to share with you some housing market outlook information that I got at the general membership at the Board of Realtors. But right before I do that, I know Elrin says we have a short segment.
Okay.
Real quick, what are interest rates at and what are they doing? I know folks are interested in that.
Well, we're in the high threes right now
Okay.
for interest rates in general, 30-year fixed rate loan, dependent upon your situation, of course, but rates are at or near historic lows again. We saw the 10-year bond drop to a level that we haven't seen in the last 2 or 3 years. That's correlated to the lowest rates that we've had historically. So.
Okay.
Some other uncertainty with this Brexit that's in the news, and so lenders are kind of just holding on a little bit to see what the outcome of that is. But there's a potential that we'll see rates dip here just a little bit more, back down to close to our historic lows that we've seen.
Terrific. That helps the buyers, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Great. So real quick, so here's what's going on nationally. We've had a 3-year growth creation in the U.S., 1.4 million new households formed last year. but only 400 new housing units constructed. We're going to see it's going to be epidemic in terms of housing crisis. We know we've got that right here in this valley, though. We have a price recovery now nationally from this year from the recession. Inventory's low. Listing prices actually grew 9% in the year. Rents continue to outpace prices generally in the U.S. Low interest rates enable incredible affordability. Plans to buy a home remain strong, and home price appreciation is at about 6% a year. Of course, we know it's a little better here. Local employment rate market in the local area is 3.74%. That's unemployment, lower than the national rate, which is 5%. Multifamily new construction starts are high, 15% median price increase in Santa Clara County. And Santa Clara County is the 8th hottest real estate market in the United States. How about that?
Well, that's not surprising at all. And I think, folks who look around will see signs of that. The strong employment market we have here. When we drive and we see all the traffic, that's a sign.
That's going to be the next problem. Yeah, the traffic.
Absolutely, but it is a strong market here for real estate.
So, real quick, the MLS numbers for Milpitas market. In May of 2015, we looked at an average price single-family home of $921,000, a median price of $912,000. That jumped to last month before last, May of 2016. We're at $943,000 for an average price and $947,500 for a median price. So those numbers have been changing, haven't they? We've dipped into the high 8s to middle 9s, but now we're hovering. Now we're really in the solid 9s, 950 for a single family home. So I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think that shows again the strength of our local market.
And the single family condo market, in contrast to the single family, has really shifted. $632,000 for average price, median price $623,000. That's jumped to average price now of $746,000 and a median price of $775,000 for condo market. Yeah. You and I, we should have bought 100 condos about 2-3 years ago. We'd be done, Todd.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we had the crystal ball that could foresee exactly what's happening with that,
or the cash,
or the cash. Well, cash goes a long ways as well.
Yeah.
But yes, that
market,
portion of the market
continues to stay very, very strong right here in the city of Milpitas.
Certainly does. Well, and it's a great place for folks to live, right?
It is great.
So we're glad that folks have joined us. What if folks have questions about the show, an idea for a topic or a guest?
Email me at Giordano, Giordano, DJ @AOL.com. And your contact?
I can be reached email tflesner@opusadvisors.com.
Perfect. See you in a couple weeks.
Terrific. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom.